In a world where sparkling wine is the best pairing for tubed meats. That's right, this world is existing at Bubbles and Brats. That's right, from the insane minds of the producers of Bubbles and Brisket, they bring you Bubbles and Brats. They have moved west, Asheville, North Carolina, on October 28th. From 1 p.m. to 5 p.m., some of the best culinary talent and chefs from all around the state are doing their best dishes with sausages / bratwurst, and it's going to be paired with not only sparkling wines, but beer and spirits and bourbon from Southern Distillery. Get your tickets, ncfbpodcast.com. It is going to be a Shamtoberfest.
This is the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast, brought to you by Sysco. Sysco is here to help set you up for success by delivering high-quality foods, products, and services for your restaurant. Recording live to digital from the NC F&B studios in downtown Raleigh. Join us as we lead you into the kitchen, inside the bottle, and into the minds of the food and beverage industry. And now, wanting a bit more liquor by asking for light ice, it's Max Trujillo and Matthew Weiss.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss. And the great philosopher Aristotle famously said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. And today with us, a man who knows himself and knows very well, because he is the distiller and the owner and creator, the everything for Aristotle Spirits, one Jake Howland.
Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for
Happy
being
to be here.
Yeah.
Are you a big Aristotle philosophizer follower?
Yeah, I was a chemistry major back in college, right? And one of the things I was really interested, aside from science, was classics. Greek philosophy, Roman, classics, those kind of things. So I took a lot of those classes. And so it popped up a lot. And I didn't even realize it, but some of those philosophies, I guess, stuck with my brain because over time I created this business and created the kind of core testaments and core beliefs of the business were all about balance in all things. And that goes for drinking alcohol. It goes for all the ingredients that you use, the drinks you make, how do you balance everything out? And that was one of Aristotle's core philosophies.
Everything in moderation, even moderation.
Yeah, that's correct. There's no bad or good, just moderation, the golden mean. So that's kind of how the Aristotle name was born.
Right on. So you're a chemist.
Yes.
Okay, so let's lay the groundwork. Aristotle Spirits, you are out of Garner.
Yep.
So you are a local North Carolina distiller. Give us the rest. How did this company come about?
Okay, so I was in pharmaceuticals. I was working in pharmaceuticals for 16, 17 years, and right out of college, started working at a place in the park in Morrisville. Eventually found my way to another company that was a startup, and they were doing inhaled products, inhalers for, we were trying to do COPD and asthma and that kind of thing. And I graduated slowly towards manufacturing and process stuff for pharmaceuticals. In the process of that, went to business school at night. When I graduated, I started a hobby, and I already kind of had a hobby going for this stuff where I was aging whiskey on my own. I was just buying unaged stuff and aging it, small barrels, and then I decided I can make this myself, right? Let's try it. And so started doing it. And, after I graduated business school, I'm doing this for a while, start writing business plans. And, sort of.
Did you use ChatGPT to write
It did not exist, unfortunately, when I did it. It would have made life a lot easier, that's for sure. But, we, sort of 5 years later, we were off and running, and here we go.
Max,
And
this is a growing trend of guests on our show with going to business school.
going to business school,
Do we need to go get our MBAs?
I went to business school.
Oh yeah, you did do that for a little while.
I,
remember that while you had Alexandra was like a newborn or something. right?
Alexander was a newborn. I was still living in Los Angeles. I was doing it online, and I moved to North Carolina. And while I lived here for 3 months before the family joined me. So during that time, I was hardcore in school while also starting to be the GM at Midtown Grill.
Yeah.
And then it just got to be too much. It was like, you got to write a 25-page this and that and read this book and do all this. And I couldn't hang on. Mm-hmm. But I did everything but the last semester. So what I do take from it is I don't have a business degree, but I have almost all the knowledge that one attains from a business degree. Yeah. And so I felt fine with that because I'm like, in the end, I really don't give a shit about having the piece of paper. That didn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
I wanted to learn, what the hell is the difference between an S Corp and an LLC, and how does an investment plan A and secondary B investors work, and how do we raise money? How do we, all of that shit, which does come into my life very often in these days. So I thought you were also going to say, Matt, it's not too dissimilar to have a distiller in-house that also used to be a drug maker.
Oh, that too, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's been known for a long time.
Yeah, we go back to our boy Lee over at Durham Distillery with Conniption. He was quite the pill maker back in the day.
Still is. He's still actively in pharma.
Yeah, that's true. So.
Are you still actively in pharma?
No, I'm not, and I wish I could figure out how to work that out where I could still work and run this business, because the income from that would be really nice right now. But it's a full-time job running this distillery, so I can't really find the bandwidth to keep working and keep this place going.
And so is it true that you are a grain-to-glass distiller?
Absolutely, yeah.
That literally was the biggest selling point when we were discussing. I think you actually responded to one of those social media posts that we said, hey, who wants to be on the show? Who's got a good story? And you messaged us via Instagram, which, that's a lot of how this stuff organically happens. So, hey, folks, if you do have a cool story and you want to be on the show, for one, you better have a cool story and be a good product. So not anyone gets on this thing, But that was kind of how it happened. And you sent us a bunch of your booze, of which I imbibed in some of. And then, it's just talking with Matt. And so the idea of a full grain-to-glass distillery is not a simple one. It tends to be the most complicated because you could easily purchase your liquor, like you were saying initially when you first did it. But for the listeners, explain, what does that mean to be grain glass?
It means you're getting grain in the door. It comes in sacks or on a truck, whatever it may be, and you're brewing that. Be it barley like you would for beer, which is what we're focused on at our spot. Corn, whatever it is. So that grain comes in, you're milling that, brewing it, ferment on site, and then you distill, as opposed to, what you'll see in some places where they'll either buy, wash, or they'll buy finished distilled spirit, which I do a little bit of both. Yeah. So, we had to blend some of this sourcing in because it's so expensive to go grain to glass with everything.
I have to ask you a question about that, just to clarify, and I might be in the dark here. But when I think grain to glass, I'm thinking like a wine estate where you're also growing the grapes.
Yeah, so
you're growing the grain.
That's farmed glass.
That's
at that
farmed
point.
glass.
Yeah,
okay,
so,
fair.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I don't have a farm where I can grow a bunch of barley. I would love that. Yeah, that would be pretty great.
We're just defining terms. Yep. I totally understand that.
Yeah. So we start, similar to what they do at breweries around, right? Nobody's buying beer necessarily or sourcing, and they might contract some out, but when you have a brewery, you're, bringing in the grain, you're brewing it and making beer, and we sort of do that, but we then distill it after. and that's how we get kind of our core products.
So do you look at brewers like they're just kind of being lazy? You're like,
yeah, I mean they forget a step. It's like come on, man, you did all this. Make it something even cooler.
Distill the damn thing.
Yeah.
What you're doing is great for your community of Garner, and to be a grain to glass distillery takes a lot of commitment. And so I want to pause on that for a second and take a quick word from our proud title sponsor, Cisco.
Yeah, Cisco, who isn't just our partner, they're also a partner with local ranchers, growers, and producers than any other distributor in the industry. That's why their commitment to the community is unmatched.
It isn't enough for them to be the global leader in food service. Cisco's mission also has heart, a heart for food, a heart for service, and a heart for community.
And how do they follow through? Well, supporting farm to table, or grain to table, or farm to grain initiatives to deliver their very best local products, partnering with food banks and nonprofits to help underserved communities around the world, here at home, fighting hunger, because isn't that what a food service is all about after all?
Visit Sysco.com, that's SYSCO.com, to learn more about their heartfelt commitment to community.
Cisco, at the heart of food and service. Okay, and all right, well, let's take a quick little break and talk with our friend out in Carrboro. That's Miss Lane Mitchell at Carrboro Coffee Roasters. Lane, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. How y'all doing today?
Excellent,
Great.
Excellent. Yeah, we're just boozing it up, Get a little...
As all self-respecting podcasters should be doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. But we have coffee to keep us caffeinated. So, what are we drinking in the coffee cups today, Lane?
Yeah. So, what we're drinking is Ignacio. We call him Nacho. He calls himself Nacho Gutierrez, and he has a farm in El Salvador called Finca San Nicolas. This is a honey pacamara, and it's really unusual. Pacamara is a scientifically created bean that's a cross between a Pacus and a Marigahape. It was created in El Salvador in 1958. And the Pacus trees are small, really petite, dwarf trees. They have really sweet beans, but they have not terribly many of them. And then the Marigahape is traditionally a very large tree that produces a lot of beans. And this cross between the two to create Pacamara was really the best of both worlds. Really has a beautiful, lush, clean body, and so it's really a great coffee just to drink. And I also I think that this coffee, although I haven't tried it, would be really, really good in something like a virgin whiskey sour or coffee mojito or something like that.
Doesn't have to be virgin. We could throw a little
rich body, but it has a nice tangy acidity as well, and it's really rich and deep.
Yeah,
Great.
Never cease to make the palate go nuts in a great way. This is great.
Thank you so much, Lane.
Yeah.
We look forward to talking with you next week. And for everybody out there, go to CarrboroCoffeeRoasters.com, get your coffee, and you will be happy that you did. Thanks again, Lane. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks,
Take
Lane.
Care.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
So, being a part of the community, being a commitment to this, what was the genesis? So, like, what was your first saying to yourself, like, okay, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go make Aristotle. I'm going to stop my day job. How did it come about?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of factors, right? So I was doing this for a while. I was pretty unhappy doing the pharmaceutical stuff. It was just a little too corporate for me, and just I needed to kind of get out and spread my wings and do something else. So I went through a lot of different business ideas, and I just kept gravitating back to this idea over and over and over again. And it just got to the point where, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. Like, go for it. Just got to do what you got to do, and find a way to fund this, and let's go. And that's really it. It was just a leap. Eventually, it was just a leap, and just got to go. And
But like, did a point come where you got like absolutely smashed by your boss, or just had the worst day at work, or your wife was like, I see you unhappy?
Yeah,
or...
I got laid off. And so
there you
will
go.
do it. So I got laid off, and I had kind of a little gap. They gave me some time to kind of figure out my next step. And so I left there with a severance package. It wasn't super great, but it was a good severance package that allowed me to go, all right, well, if I'm going to do it, I got to do it now. and that was kind of, let's go.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, so otherwise I was looking for another job and you know whatever.
Nothing like a kick in the ass. Like
yeah, I mean, and it was a big kick in the ass.
Yeah.
That I was not a great happy time, but I was trying to find a silver lining or a happy outcome of it.
Okay.
Well, people always do say that's kind of like the best thing that could ever happen to them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you're in a bad situation, or you get comfortable making week to week, month to month checks, and your bills are being paid because you've structured your life that way. But then after a while, you just kind of start. I mean, hell, I haven't had a steady paycheck. I don't know how long.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of, but not really. And I think it's okay though, because you just start realizing like, this is what I need, this is what I want. I mean, even Matt, you're in sales, so it's not like your paycheck is the same every day. You know, if I stop buying wine from you, then you're gonna go hungry that week.
But we're world famous podcasters, so
Yeah. So
don't laugh at that, Jay. Come on.
not the joke part. This is super serious. But okay, so what I glean from what you're doing, for one, no one's really making booze out in Garner, from what I know.
We're it.
There's some beer out there. There's some really good beer out there, but this is unique. I know, like we've done some things with Johnston County. Is Garner still? No, they're Wake County, right?
Wake County.
They're Wake, but they there's a portion of Garner that's in Joco. So it's like the 4042 area over there where Joco Brewing is.
Yeah.
That's still Garner, and so that's technically, but it's far away. It's like this weird island out there.
Yeah, I guess like the closest would probably be like Instill, but they're out
they're in Clayton.
And so for those that don't know like the geography of this area, Raleigh being kind of the hub in this one spot, Garner is essentially just directly south of us.
Yeah, we're close. It took me less than 15 minutes to drive in from there to here, right, to downtown.
It's like the equivalent of Cary, but just south instead of southwest.
It's honestly probably closer than Cary to downtown. It's right there. And that was one of the attractive things about it. It was just, it's so close to Raleigh. It's just, people forget about Garner a little bit.
Right.
But you're also not just a distillery, you're also a full bar and like a place to go visit. So talk to us a little bit about the space and what you guys do there.
Okay, so when we conceived of this business, it was, the old business model of big production, little bar, right? And so we built a little tasting room in there, and it's, maybe 30 seats, a little bit of outside seating, that kind of thing. And the idea and the goal was, okay, with North Carolina allowing us to sell mixed beverages, let's make sure we have a lot of stuff and we can fill the bar, and we're not just, say making rum and it's a rum bar and that's it, or whatever. So people can come and kind of find their spirit that they like. The only one we can't do really is tequila. Yeah. Not being in Mexico, can't do it. But we can, eventually I'm probably going to make an agave spirit, but, it's not necessarily on my horizon yet, but we'll get there. But as it was,
use those blue Weber agave plants.
Yeah.
we went deep into tequila.
Nice.
The listeners may have either already heard it or look for it soon from the master distiller of Luna Azul. We spoke with them. And we went to school, so that was a good episode.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't hear that one. I have to check that one out.
Yeah, it will not. It hasn't been released.
Oh, okay. So I'll get
today. But so
that's awesome.
Okay, so that's the thing. Like Aristotle has a bevy of things for everybody to try. It's a one-stop shop essentially for all your liquor needs. But if you had to show us, hey, this is what we do, this is our calling card, what would that be? Or what's the first thing you made?
The first thing we made was vodka.
Okay.
So that was the very first product because it was straight grain grass, 100% barley, distill it, single pass, get the 190 proof vodka. So we did that. I've had to reformulate that vodka a little bit recently just because it was so expensive to go purely grain glass, and our yield was real low, and we've been able to kind of make that work with a blend of pure grain and some GNS that we source. So we kind of blend those two together.
What is that?
Neutral grain spirit. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
So we source some of that, and so we kind of blend those together. So we're not just buying neutral spirit, bottling it, calling it our own. We're still going and brewing and just combining it with some of this industrial made stuff to stretch it out. Still has a good flavor profile that we're going for with our barley, and so we do that. That was our first product. We launched with that. We only had like 50 or so bottles on opening night, gone in an hour and a half, 2 hours.
When was your open?
We opened on June 25th, 2021.
Okay.
So we were on the very tail end of COVID, and restrictions were just sort of lifting at that point. It was a rough time to open, but we were still able to kind of make it work there for a bit, and business picked up, as time went by. But the restrictions and the masks and everything at that point were less than ideal for running, a bar that we were trying to do.
There wasn't a lot of support for bars during COVID.
Not really.
It was like, keep the people home, keep them controlled, don't get them drunk, don't keep them out late.
Get them drunk at home.
Yeah. Which they did.
Yeah,
they did.
Booze was selling really well at that time. Speaking of which, maybe we should try something.
Yeah, let's go for it.
What should we try?
We got a lot of stuff. Okay, so oh my gosh. We definitely need to try the whiskeys, all right? So we got, as it is right now, 4 whiskeys here. And we definitely want to go through the gins at some point. So I leave it to you guys. What do you guys want to go for here? What are you looking at?
So we've got the New American Gin.
Yep.
We've got the bourbon barrel gin.
Yep.
So if we're gonna do gin, we probably start with
do that. Let's go and do that vertical with those two, and it's super interesting. So I'm kind of excited because you guys haven't tasted the gin yet.
Here you go, Matt.
Here, I'll do that.
Yeah. So what makes this quote New American Gin? It's a contemporary gin. So it's not a London Dry. We're not going for that juniper piney, kind of flavor profile. So all that really means is that it's an American gin. It's going to be a little sweeter than those traditional ones, and a little bit of orange and lemon in there with a lot of cool baking spices and the like. And there's a lot going on in this gin. I really love it. It's a great gin and tonic gin. We go through a lot of it.
Yeah.
So you get a really bright nose.
New American Gin. What is the grain in this one?
So this starts as neutral. So because we're using these botanicals, if we were going grain to glass, we would get no flavor from that. Really, because of all this botanical mix. So we start with neutral spirit with all our gins.
That's a really solid gin. I mean, I don't know, what is going on in this world, Matt, where everyone's starting to make really good shit? I don't know what it was, but I mean, when we first started this podcast and even just leading up to it, there was just a lot of people making booze, and you're like, okay, sure, I guess. But then, I don't know. Like maybe is the equipment getting better? Is it are there better YouTube videos out there that everyone's watching?
I don't know, honestly. I think it's just a maturing of the industry, right? So, in the early days, you would have some folks that were, distilling early on, and they were just feeling it out, and kind of the trailblazers a bit. Some were doing really good stuff. Some were kind of starting from the wrong spot and doing some different things that weren't so great. And over time, it's just like the beer industry. When, as it matures with more and more breweries and that kind of thing, you just get more and more entries, and, hopefully the cream rises kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I think there's also more information out there, like you're saying, and man, it just seems like more people are also willing to try things. More talented people are willing to take the leap, such as yourself, especially after COVID, when they're like, well, screw it. What does it matter anymore? Because we can just have a world pandemic, and I can lose my job anyway and then have to figure something else. So I might as well just figure out something else that's going to make me happy.
Yeah.
I think more people are willing to take the leap is the short answer to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
I think that's probably true.
Okay, and then again, there's much more information. Okay, what's...
So now we're doing the barrel rested, which makes sense to get into that right after. Barrel rested gin.
So this we're using used bourbon barrels. So when we, so our bourbon is a source product right now, so I get aged barrels. We dump those barrels and do finishing with our friends at NC Spirits. For that.
We've had them on the podcast.
And so we do that, and then those empty bourbon barrels just get a bunch of that New American gin in them. And sit for 6 months or so, and out they come, and it's a completely different product after just hanging out in those bourbon barrels for a bit.
It's funny, though. I still get a lot of gin characteristic on it. It's not like the bourbon's overtaking it.
No, it doesn't. It's just
mellows it out.
It mellows it out. It makes the the citrus side of it kind of pop a little bit more. The rest of the gin flavor is still there. It's just it's I don't know. I love that product. That's my favorite. That was one where I was like, we experimented with a lot of different stuff, doing different barrels. When I was making gin at home, illicitly, I started aging in oak chips and stuff like that, and I was like, man, this is awesome. Like, why isn't this available? And at the time, there was no barrel rested gin anywhere.
Yeah, that's become a trend.
Yeah.
You mentioned NC Spirits. Now they're kind of known for doing rapid aging and using some technology and all. I take it you're doing a little bit more of the traditional route, is that?
A little bit more of traditional. So what I'm doing with NC for our bourbon is, which we'll taste here shortly, is they specialize in finishing. So I'm getting sort of 3-year barrels, that kind of thing. Blending a handful of those together, send them off to them in a tote, and then they do their finishing process with apple cider. Okay. So it's kind of a unique finish to that bourbon that, similar to, you got a lot of finished bourbons out there in this world, right? A lot of them are port cask or sherry cask or that kind of thing. And I felt like I tasted a lot of those things, and I tasted what NC Spirits was doing with those things, and we tasted the apple cider. It was almost like a whim, and I was like, this is better. I like this better than these other ones. Yeah. This is good. So so if we taste that now, it's like, it's not like it tastes like apples, right? It's a finish. So that finish kind of rounds the edges a little bit. It tastes significantly older than the, sort of 2 to 3 year bourbon that it is because of that. And, a little bit of acidity on the back end because of the apples. It finishes kind of like an apple brandy, which I really like.
Yeah, I mean, are there particular bourbons that you use almost as your model, or like you're like, this is what I like. I want to kind of somewhat emulate, or
I don't think there was anything I was trying to emulate. It was more when we were trying out, and it went through like 12 iterations where they were like, well, let's try this recipe, and I was like, a little more oak, a little less this, a little more of that, and it was really just trying to find a rounded, kind of balanced bourbon that was good, and it would be versatile to use old fashions or sip straight or on the rocks or whatever you want to do with it. That we just wanted to find something that was a good base, a nice foundational base, good bourbon that that could be one of our core products.
Yeah, I actually, I don't know if it's just the power of suggestion, but I do get a lot of apple notes right off the front. Yeah,
agreed.
Which I like. Right, it makes me think of when you go apple picking up in the Northeast and you get the hot cider and all that stuff. It's certainly like that. What is your number one on-premise seller?
Believe it or not, bourbon's high up there.
That's just the straight bourbon, or that's the apple cider?
The apple cider bourbon. So that's our bourbon. That's our core bourbon, right? That one sells really well. But more recently, habanero vodka has been a runaway hit for us, especially on premises.
Are they using that as a substitute for an agave spirit?
We do all kinds of stuff with it.
Yeah.
So everything from obviously the original design and conception was it's a Bloody Mary vodka. Sure. But we never use it in Bloody Marys really. I mean, we do sometimes on Insight, but we have a habanero vodka drink on every menu now, and it's the best seller every time.
Wow.
And it usually has like pineapples or a sweet something going on, similar to a margarita, so it's spicy and that kind of thing. So it's blending that spicy sweet, and it's just wildfire every time.
Yeah, is vodka gonna get cool again? I mean, I know vodka is like the #1 seller, and it crushes anyways. But like in the '80s, vodka was cool, and then it had a resurgence in the late '90s, I would say, with like the Grey Gooses and the Kettle Ones really kind of coming in vogue.
Also, you had the Sex and the City Cosmopolitans and Appletinis.
But like, it was uncool. It was like you were wearing Cavariccis.
Which also are like coming back now, the pleated pants and all that.
Dude, I had about like 8 pairs of Cavariccis.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
Did you wear them with like the thick tube socks and the Keds as well?
No, that's stupid.
Yeah.
No, I had 2 different shirts I would wear. Shoes, I was such a dork. In 8th grade, I wore Cavariccis. I would have like dress shoes, like nice like leather, slip-on, kind of moccasin, like suede
loafers.
Loafers. That's what I'm trying to say. But I had 2 different types of shirts I would wear. One, either the turtleneck that was tight and I had the chain outside of it. I mean, that was rocking. I looked like the Rock from with his hip bag, his fanny pack. Then the other one was just a multicolored, really ugly printed rayon button-up shirt.
Sure. That was of the fashion back then. Yeah.
So it was like, how many colors can you get on your body?
Yeah.
How many different fabrics and fake polyurethane fabrics can you get on your body and sweat to high hell? I mean, this is not good for a 13-year-old boy going through puberty and just reeking all day long. It's like, put that rayon on my body. So,
especially you go to like an 8th grade dance and it's super hot and you're dancing. And, those were the days, my friend.
But maybe there's a little resurgence of vodka now. I kind of feel like it's getting back in vogue. Bourbon is still, at least in the South, is king. I mean, that's just kind of, and maybe more on like the male side.
Yep.
But gin really has like popped a lot recently. I feel like it's like I feel like it's like the sophisticated vodka drinker drinks gin. Yeah. In a way, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, as you said, everyone's buying that vodka, so.
Yeah, and I mean, gin's it's a niche product in the U.S. because the gin market is 3.5% or something like that nationally. So it's a small bit of the market, and it's challenging because there's a lot of big brands in that space. But it's one of those that we have people that drink gin and they only drink gin, and they come in and they're like, we love this, and we come back and they keep buying it, and or they bought the barrel-aged gin at the ABC, and they had no idea we were even Garner, and they tried it and they were like, oh, this is so good, I got to find this place, and they'd come in. So there's a lot of strong
Does that really happen?
It does. I swear, it happens.
Because I don't have a lot of faith.
It's happened quite a few times for us.
Okay.
We actually had a couple that bought a barrel-aged gin and a bottle of bourbon in Winston-Salem.
Okay.
And I had a single barrel release for our bourbon back in May, and they showed up. And they came. They bought tickets. They came from Wilmington to come to that event and get the bottle and do the bottling experience we were doing that day. So it's really cool to have that kind of stuff happen.
Yeah.
And it does happen. It's just, I wish it happened more. Let's just say that.
So you've had success on getting in the ABC stores?
Mixed. It's a mixed bag. It's some boards great, some boards not so great, and
some boards
it's just fucked.
Yeah, so I'm not going to call out any individual ones.
Sure.
I will say Wake County's been very good to us. I went and met with Brian, sat down with him, brought him a couple bottles, and showed him. He doesn't drink it all, so he doesn't taste, and they can't taste anyway. But I brought it in and said, hey, we want to get on the shelf. We're local. We're in Wake County. Let's do it. And he's like, great. Let's put you in 10 stores, and if you sell, awesome, we'll get you into more stores. And so now we're in almost all of the Wake County stores, and they're easily our #1 account.
I just heard we were in Chow Chow over the weekend, and we were speaking with somebody who's in the liquor game there, and they were heavily promoting the passing of the bill that would now allow MXB pricing or restaurants and bars to buy direct to you? Because currently everybody has to still go into the ABC store. But we were traveling, so I don't even know what the fallout was from that. Do you know if that passed?
It did not pass yet. I think there's still it's out there. It's another ABC omnibus bill or whatever. So there's a lot of stuff in it, and I'm not sure if that one made the cut through the committee or not, as far as buying direct.
Yeah.
But would you still have the option? Like, so you're a local distiller. Then what if somebody out, for example, in Asheville, let's say Cultura is using your vodka in their house?
Yep.
So would they be able to? So would you have to ship it to them directly?
No, I mean it would go through the ABC.
Okay.
So they would buy local ABC, and it would do the ridiculous thing where it ships from my place to. In our case, it's the warehouse right down the road. So for a while, I was hand delivering stuff.
Yeah.
Like, not allowed to do that anymore. You have to use real
bonded trucks
and the whole thing. So it goes there, and then the orders come in, and those cases trickle out from the warehouse to go to the various boards, right? So then it would go from there to Asheville to the ABC.
So what if this bill were to pass, and then there was a local restaurant like Aunt Betty's, Greg Ewan gave you a big endorsement, which is pretty good stuff.
That's awesome.
And wanted to use your product. So would he be able to buy directly from you then?
If they passed a law that allowed it, and then we'd be able to do that, right? That'd be amazing, because it would, in effect, create self-distribution for distilleries, which would, it'd kind of change the game for us on distribution, because rather than, what we currently do is we go in and we go to bars and we talk to the, beverage manager, we taste stuff, and they say, great, and it's like, awesome, so please order this from the ABC next time you order. And, it might happen, and then we have no idea if they actually ordered. There's no visibility on customer relationship with the ABC, so I don't even know what restaurants and bars I'm in, because there's no way to know.
There is technology that does that. I mean, I remember when I was working for RNDC, at least they had
some capability,
the software to find out who was purchasing and how much they were purchasing, because the ABC has to keep records on that.
Yeah, they don't share any of that with me.
I think you have to pay for that software, which is expensive.
Yes.
So for listeners and those that are in the beverage industry that are buying for your restaurants, like, if you do want to support more local business, you can go to your ABC store directly and request that they put those bottles, like Aristotle Spirits, on the shelf.
Yeah.
And because you want to buy them, they're technically compelled to stock the shelves, because the ABC is run by the government, which is run by taxpayers, and so it is your store. So if you say, I want this on the shelf, they're supposed to order it, whether it's restaurant or just end user, for the house. So do that. Be a squeaky wheel. Everyone loves that squeaky wheel.
That's right. Get the grease, baby.
I always kid around. Everyone hates the squeaky wheel, and you just pacify them to shut them the fuck up. But it does. It's a means to an end. It gets that pushed through. So the more that the humans can be vocal about what happens in a space, the better for the independent business and all.
Yeah, and obviously buying local North Carolina helps the state. It helps all of us businesses as well. There's one ABC board in particular, I'm not going to mention names, that I've been trying to get on the shelf for a year and a half, and they keep telling me, oh, there's no shelf space. We've got all these other North Carolina products that don't sell. So until they sell, we can't put you in. And that's kind of a catch-22 for me. It's like, so you're telling me...
You're not going to name names, but it rhymes with Hecklenburg?
It doesn't, actually. It's not that one. It's, so it's not that one. It's a different one. And, that's a tough one for me, because it's like, how am I supposed to get on the shelf in your county that's close to where I'm at, when you're telling me these don't sell, so until they do sell, we can't, it's like, all right, well... So you're telling me never.
And we've had that. I mean, again, going back to one of the first points I made about spirits nowadays are pretty damn good, but there was a lot of crap on the shelves, let's be honest. And so to a buyer at a liquor store, at any of these ABC stores, or really for anywhere, we had the same conversation at Plebe Winery, and we'll release an episode with them coming up out of Asheville, but his plight was... no one respects North Carolina wine, not to the level of what you're going to respect a California wine or a far be it for me to say a European wine.
Yep.
But so you got to taste it, you got to try it, you got to believe it. But if the stigma is, no, I'm not going to do this. I already bought a bunch of this shit. It ain't going to move. Well, then you are stuck because that stuff's never going to move. And then now it's kind of up to the buyer to get creative on how to move that product before they ever dip their toe back in.
Yeah, and I mean, you say the same thing for North Carolina bourbon, other spirits, whatever it is. There's not a hell of a lot of respect out there for North Carolina brands for many reasons. Again, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
That a lot of people. First thing you think of with North Carolina is, oh, that's moonshine, and it's like, no, no. This is we're making really high quality products here. You should try it. Let's.
Yeah. So what's your team like? Like, how big is your squad?
So some changes lately, but most of basically my staff right now is mainly bartenders. So we're putting a lot of focus in that on premises direct sales to customers, high margin stuff. So I've got that team of bartenders working for us and doing it up, and I'm working the bar with them here and there. And then, I had a distiller, which unfortunately we've got to the point where we made so much and I couldn't afford to keep paying him when and he was helping me get through this stuff. And, we did a lot of production. The reality is that, we were doing production for distribution to ramp up. And that ramp has been a gradual ramp as opposed to a fast ramp. So it was one of those things where it's like, oh, well, we're not going to have any production for a few months. What do we do? And so I just pivoted it, and we're focusing on bar right now. We're going to put everything we got into this bar, high margin stuff, promote our stuff as best we can that way. And, that's where we're at. So it's that team is all bar right now.
Yeah.
And me. And so I'm kind of, I'm floating around doing a lot of stuff, and that's fine. The production side's really fun. That's my fun stuff. The bar is a little bit of a headache, but that's where we make our money.
Yeah, we're doing for those that have been longtime listeners of the show, we used to do the this is not a happy hour event here at the kitchen. Mainly because those laws weren't available. Although that's supposedly passing, but
that's in that law that's going through that omnibus. Hopefully that'll allow happy hours in North Carolina. It'd be great.
Which means, and for those that don't know what we're talking about, is that you're not allowed to discount liquor for any period of time in one day. If you want your margaritas to be $5 on Tuesdays, they have to be from the time you open to the time you close.
Yep.
Whereas in other states and anywhere else in the world, you can say margaritas and well drinks are $5 from 5 to 8 to get people to come out right after work. And we all knew this back in the day as bartenders. That was a really great way for us to make money and generate revenue for the restaurants. But for the customer, it was also a really good way to network, to unwind, to be compelled to go out and do something. And so we know that at the kitchen, we like having that idea because we're a few different businesses in this space. And we know people that work in multiple different types of industries. All that said, we're doing it at the very end of September, Monday through Friday, every single day for 3 hours a day. And we spoke, and I'll probably batch some cool cocktails using some of your spirits. And
Absolutely.
Then Greg Ewan, as you said, Matt, was chatting with us, and he's going to make cocktails on that Friday, which happens to be my birthday.
Yeah.
29
Love
again. And so I asked him, he's like, who do you got on the show this week? And I was like, oh, Jake from Aristotle Spirits. He's like, oh, good people, great stuff. And I go, oh, you know him? He's like, yeah, man, I've got it on the back bar.
Yep.
And he's no joke. I mean, he knows his stuff. He's a really good bartender. Really knows flavor.
Yep.
So that was a nice endorsement. And he'll be making drinks on that Friday with
that's awesome.
Your stuff. So
that's outstanding. Love it.
Well, anyhow, man, so if somebody does want to get your spirits, obviously you said you are mainly in most of the big ABC counties?
Yeah, we're in most places, not everywhere. We're struggling to get a foothold in Mecklenburg, so we're in a few stores there, but not many. But we're here in North Carolina, around Wake County, Greensboro, Winston-Salem area, which Triad's a big win. To get into that one, that guy rarely orders new stuff, so that was a big deal. New Hanover, so we're out at the beach. We're in Pitt County. all
Are
over the
you
place.
are you on the shelf as a whiskey, or are you on the shelf as a North Carolina spirit?
It depends on the board. So, and it depends on the store too.
What would you prefer?
I kind of like the North Carolina section. And
Okay,
I say
that's
that
not
because,
what everyone always says.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like it, and it's because people that are looking for something local know where to go. And in Wake County, they've kind of done away with the North Carolina section, and they've put us with all the stuff, which I do like because we tend to sell a little better in certain stores, but not everywhere that way. So as we've been defunct out of the North Carolina section, some of our products have sold way slower. It's because they just get lost on that shelf with all of the, the stuff. The vodka sits on the shelf, and there's a billion vodkas there. There's, our bourbon kind of blends in with the rest of the bourbon labels, and it's easy to overlook kind of thing.
What's the price point on the retail?
So we vary. We go all over the place. So our bourbon's at $55, and then our our gins, New American's 32 or 33, and the barrel aged is 38, and then our vodka's at 25. Habanero vodka's a few bucks more than that.
So middle of the road to high end, higher, low end.
Yeah, we're kind of going for the higher end of the coin because it is what it is. We're small, and that's what we're trying to make. And I hope we've succeeded in that. And there's no weak links in our product line.
No, everything I've tried has been delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a call to top shelf.
Yeah.
On the bar.
The vodka's a little high end for a bar to take, right? For instance. But the whiskeys and stuff and the gins are not too bad. We're kind of competitive in those spaces, which we're able to do because, we can make enough batches of that and keep our costs down and make it work and make a really good product.
So Jake, as we wrap up this conversation here, what if somebody is going to the ABC store in their local county, or bartenders looking around for their fall menu?
Yeah.
What do you want them to know about Aristotle Spirits that sets you apart?
Right. So every single product we make has a lot of thought and a lot of care behind it. We're intentional about everything we do. So that's why we have a apple cider cask finish with that bourbon. That's why I make that rum at 120 proof, and I do not water it down. I want that flavor to pop through any cocktail, so you can taste rum in that cocktail. That's why we pick the mix that we do. That's why we have the mash bill on our single malt whiskey that we do, because it lends itself to a little bit of a chocolate finish on our whiskey, which we haven't tasted. We've got to do that before I leave. You guys got to taste that one.
Oh, yeah. Twist our own.
Yeah. So, habanero vodka is all fresh ingredients. It's all, everything. And so we don't want any weak links. We are really intentional, and thought goes into every one of those. It looks like we're varied, and our focus is all over the place. But my ADHD allows me to focus in 100 different things and really kind of no, when I'm making this is what I'm doing, and that's,
That's great, man. Well, we appreciate you coming into studio, bringing all this booze for us to sample and enjoy. We'll see you at the happy hour, and we got to go, Matt, to go down to the bar and get a couple cocktails. It's not too far from here. Maybe we'll do a little happy hour ourselves, pay full price, that is. But we'll go down there.
Yeah, we got to check it out. Well,
Jake,
we'd
we'd love to have y'all. That'd be great.
Very cool. Well, great meeting you. Thank you for bringing and sharing. And for all of you out there, if you want something intentional and thoughtful, go get yourself some Aristotle Spirits, and you will drink extremely merrily.
Thanks for listening to the NC F&B podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes, and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.